Okay. So we're talking about rationalizing complex numbers, and this just means we're dividing them basically. Because last lesson we did subtract and add and multiply, right? Today we're doing dividing because it's a little bit harder. So if you have like a 6 plus 4i and you want to divide by 5 minus 2i, okay? The idea here is there is nothing we can do to divide these guys. We can't do it. So what we do is we have to get rid of the I at the bottom of the fraction because we can't have an imaginary number at the bottom because you can't divide by an imaginary number. So what you want to do is get rid of the I somehow at the bottom. You can move it to the top somehow. Okay, so mathematically, you remember like the difference of squares, right? You have x squared minus 9, for example. If you factor that, you get x minus 3, x plus 3. So stay with me and I'll show you what this has to do with that. So if you multiply these two guys together, you get x squared minus 3x plus 3x minus 9. You see how the middle terms disappear because they cancel each other, because there's a negative 3 and a positive 3, and you multiply them, they cancel out the x terms. So we want to do the same thing here. And so, because when you multiply something, you want to cancel out the imaginary parts, you know. So what we do is we do the conjugate of this, right? So the conjugate of 5 minus 2i. So if you have a complex number like this, a plus bi, then the conjugate, oh, that was terrible spelling, conjugate. The conjugate of that is just a minus bi. So you take the exact same thing, but you change the sign in the middle. So what I do here is I would multiply by 5 plus 2i at the bottom, and I have to do the same thing to the top, right? Because it's a fraction. I have 5 plus 2i. And watch what happens, okay? The top becomes 30 plus 12i plus 20i plus 8i squared. Now the bottom is the important part, because the top, I don't care if there's I on top, but I'm trying to get rid of the I at the bottom. So see what happens here is I have 25 minus 10i plus 10i minus 4i squared. You see how these terms cancel each other out, just like these here. So negative 10i and positive 10i, they cancel each other. So the top is going to be 30 plus 32i. Now you add these two. They don't cancel, see, because they're not conjugates of each other. So the I is still there. And then I squared is negative 1, so you have minus 8. And the bottom I have 25. Here, I squared is negative 1, so that becomes positive 4. And so you combine these, I have 22, because 30 minus 8 is 22, plus 32i. And bottom, I have 29. See, there's no more I at the bottom, because I squared is real, it's negative 1, and the i's cancel each other. So this is the answer, and that's rationalizing, okay? Let's do the whole process again. I have 5 minus 2i over 4 plus 6i. All right, I just multiply by the conjugate of the bottom. So I have 4 minus 6i here. 4 minus 6i. Yeah, and you multiply them, and you get it. So on top I have 20 minus 30i minus 8i plus 12i squared. In the bottom I have 16 minus 24i plus 24i minus 36i squared. All right, so these cancel. So on top I have 20 minus 38i, and then I squared is negative, so I have negative 12. Here I have 16. I squared is negative. That becomes positive 36. And you combine these two, I have 20 minus 12 is 8. Wait, minus 38i. And the bottom I have 40, 52.